Hello and welcome. I'm Patrick Curtis, your host and chief monkey, and this is the Wall Street Oasis Podcast. Join me as I talk to some of the community's most successful and inspirational members to gain valuable insight into different career paths and life in general. Let's get to it. Another interesting chat with the WSO interns. If you're interested in applying to the internship, please check out the show notes. There's a link right there. Enjoy. Welcome to, I think, the 12th or 11th or so WSO Weekly Intern Chat. It is July 8th, 2022, so we're firmly in the summer, planted right in the middle. Wanted to just open it up as usual for the group to ask any questions they have about specifically the internship, and then we'll move on to specific career-related interview networking type of questions. Hey, Harveen. Hi, Tanae. Good to see you again. And so I guess we can start off with just the internship-based questions. We got about a group of 20 right now, so it's a little light. Usually we're up to around 40, but welcome to everybody. So any questions to start off about the internship? I don't know if some of you have started or are going to be starting soon. Any questions that any of you have around how to get started, or you've started and you have questions around the specific articles you're working on, anything like that? No? Is that the first time in 11 weeks? Are we doing a better job, Nabil, at explaining things? Maybe so, yeah. Can we take credit?
Yeah. But yeah.
Okay.
If you guys have any questions, go ahead.
And that can be for the editors as well. I know, Colt, you've been doing a great job keeping up on the editing, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anything else? So let's talk about career-oriented stuff. Anybody have questions around challenges they're facing in recruiting? I'll try to be as helpful as I can for geographies outside the U.S., and Nabil will try to be helpful for regions he knows better. But anything that you guys are struggling with? Amy, anything? Harveen, Tanae? I know in the past we've done resume reviews. Do you want us to bring that back for next week so we can kind of do more of those? And
definitely.
You like that, Paul? Okay.
Yep.
All right, we'll do that for next week then. Tanae always is enthusiastic about the resume reviews. So question, has anybody, cold emails. Do you want to talk about that, Parth? Okay. How to do cold emails for smaller firms. So you mean when you're emailing a smaller firm, how to message them? So I think the size of the firm shouldn't matter too much. I think it's more around like the level of the person that you're emailing. So if you're doing a cold email, usually what I like to do is try and find some commonality. So when you're doing a filter, let's say on LinkedIn, and you're trying to figure out what you want to say to somebody, usually you're doing a filter based on some sort of commonality that you have. So if I'll give you an example. So let's say you are into cricket. Maybe you could find other people who played cricket during uni, and you want to, make that connection. You could say, hey, I noticed that you played here. I have played here. Was wondering if we could hop on the phone for 5 minutes to just understand a little bit more about XYZ firm and how you guys do business. Andy says, how to find and email recruiters of small firms and boutique as some of their only employees in the head, but no recruiters or HR. It's a good question, Annie. I think oftentimes there aren't even recruiters for these small firms. Sometimes they just post the jobs directly to like LinkedIn jobs. I still would recommend not just applying to the jobs on LinkedIn. I would recommend reaching out to the analysts and the associates and letting them know that you apply, and or even prior.
Like you want to apply. There's no such links or anything upon the websites or even on LinkedIn. Usually if it's, on LinkedIn, they just put in the head people, and there's sometimes in the bios, profiles, they don't even put their emails or anything. So usually the first step for me is I go for LinkedIn, but like if there's like nothing else, then you have to like sort of skip the firm also.
Yeah, I would recommend using the WSO company database for email format, because I think email is much more powerful if you can get it into what I call like an email reminder cycle. So I use an extension called Write Inbox. Have you heard of Write Inbox or like Boomerang?
No.
So that's an extension for Gmail, which allows you to easily set reminders for yourself. So if there's no response, it just bumps to the top of your inbox again. And it sounds simple and easy, but it's actually an amazing tool to help make sure nothing falls through the cracks. So although I'm not inbox zero, I do not, I don't let things fall through the cracks very often, because if things aren't done, or if things are yet to be followed up on, or if I've sent an email hoping for a response back, I'm always putting a reminder on it for it to pop back up in my inbox if I have a response back. And so for networking, this is super valuable, because you can put like a 3-week reminder on it, a 6-week reminder on it, a 2-week reminder on it. You can set emails to be sent out at certain times. I think Outlook has some of these features, but you could send it instead of like, let's say you're working at 1 a.m. You don't need to send an email then. You could send it out the next morning, say at like 6 a.m. To make it be one of the first things they see in their inbox. And potentially you can be a little bit more strategic around the delivery time of your emails to their inbox to hopefully get it, increase your response rate. Usually I think early mornings are good. Or even later after the workday is over. That's what I usually recommend. But I would say that you try to find the email format. And so like we have over, I think, 5,000 firms in the WSO company database. You can go in there and look for the email format and then try to find their emails. You'll get a lot of bounce backs, but you can also use type this Hunter, use a company called hunter.io to try and find emails and see if it's a valid email. So if you have like, say the name John Smith, you know, when I see email format, I mean, is it J Smith? Is it John Smith? Is it, Smith J? Who knows? Sometimes it's odd, but knowing that can get you pretty far. We're getting more people, more stragglers coming in late. I'm happy to see that. I'm almost up to 30. But yeah, the question was around specifically cold emails and how do you get in touch with find the recruiters or the emails or the contacts of people at small firms, because oftentimes that is hard to find. So Annie, when you said you're using LinkedIn, I assume you're using like InMails, or are you just connection requesting them with a little message in there?
If able, I would sometimes send in emails. Sometimes they just don't care.
Oh, most of the time they won't care. Yeah, most of the time they won't care. I don't take that personally. I think if you're getting more than like a 10% response rate, that's really good. I think if you're getting less than a 5% response rate, you might want to look at like how you're targeting it.
Because like I even went to their websites, the most just don't have their emails down, and yeah, I go directly for LinkedIn. So that's it.
Have you done connection requests?
Oh yeah, I just send it.
You send an email, but have you tried connection requests? Because once you're connected to them, you can get their email, right?
Yeah, I do. Most of their emails are actually personal. It's a bit of. I laughed a bit. Like I looked at him. It's a Gmail account.
But that's okay. If that's what they had up on their LinkedIn, I wouldn't be afraid to email that.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes they'll say, "Hey, don't email me here." They'll correct you if they're not. But
yeah, I actually emailed them on their personal as well.
Good.
I don't really find out about the format. I would just say, maybe try personal. Who knows?
Yeah. And so has that worked for you at all? And can you give a little more background about your, your year, school, or situation so we can give it context?
Yeah. I'm a rising sophomore majoring in finance at Baruch College in 2025.
Awesome. Your timing is great. Rising sophomore, it's like go time for you. Have you heard of Monkey to Millions, my podcast?
No.
You should go to YouTube and watch all the advice I gave to Grace. It's all recorded. Grace is at Fordham, so right near you. And she started doing all the networking and stuff late freshman year through sophomore year. And you'll be able to see all the dividends it paid for her.
I just, now I'm looking at it, I'm more of a, now realizing I'm networking a bit. I'm networking mostly correct, but I just more of, how do I explain? Like, I'm feeling lazy of, I just put it in the personal email. That's it. I should hurry up and like number it. Like,
what do you mean by number it?
Like the emails you send as much as possible.
Oh, you mean increasing it?
Yeah, basically, I would just say, it's one and done. You got his or her personal email. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be in terms of volume. If you think of LinkedIn as a connection request, if you do like a filter on LinkedIn specifically around, let's say, a specific sport, a school, like alumni, so you put in Baruch, look at anybody who's worked in finance at Baruch, and you just start connection requests to all of them. Be like, hey, I'm a rising sophomore at Baruch. I'd love to connect and maybe touch base sometime in the future, sometime to just learn more about your career. Something as simple as that. It'd be great to chat. You do that for number one for all.
Some of them, however, don't allow emails. That's the bad part.
But connection requests, send them that message in the connection request.
Yeah, I couldn't send the whole. I couldn't really send the whole thing. There's a character limit.
It shouldn't be longer than that. That's literally what I just said. That's all you need to get the connection request. It should be like, hi, my name is Annie. I'm a rising sophomore at Baruch. I'd love to connect with you and potentially, hop on the phone sometime in the future to learn more about your career. Either way, wishing you the best, Annie. That's all you have to say. Like literally that little tiny paragraph just to get the connection. And then when you send that then if they connect with you, then you have their email. Then you move it to email. You have a right inbox or boomerang to help remind you if they don't follow up. So in 3, 4 weeks or 6 weeks, you're following up with them. To show persistence, to show respect. You're waiting enough time to give them respect and time to respond back. But then again, I would be cautious to give them a full book and bio of yourself. It should be really short. They don't really care, to be honest, unless they like see something in themselves, see you in themselves. So it's like, you should try to just make a quick tie to them, give them a little intro of like who you are, sophomore, majoring in finance at Baruch. I noticed that you work at in this thing, and I'd love to learn more. Is there some time in the next few weeks that we might be able to hop on the phone for 5 to 10 minutes, or 10 to 15 minutes to so I can ask you a few questions? ? Thanks so much either way, Annie. And then 3 weeks later, you follow up, maybe like, hey, just following up on this. Not sure if you're super. I understand if you're super busy and can't, but you just wanted to make sure you just didn't slip through the cracks. Something that casual, show that you're a normal person, show that you're relatable, but you're confident enough to ask for the call and get on those phone calls, start establishing those relationships, I think is really important. Does that make sense? And it's hard. You're like just not even a sophomore.
Yeah, I'm going to sophomore year.
You're going to sophomore year. It's very hard to do that with professionals, but the people who are able to do it and get good at those phone calls, number one, get the phone calls because they reach out to 500 people. So they get the 10 to 20 phone calls. Number two, be comfortable enough on the phone calls eventually. Like you're going to be bad in the first few phone calls just because you're going to be super nervous. But you need to have them, right? Better to have them. It's actually going to make you a better interviewer too, all these calls.
Yeah.
So
definitely, for networking as of now, I got a bit over 500 connections on LinkedIn.
Great.
Like overall for almost everything. That's all I have as of now. But like all I can say is in terms of big firms, that's the number. Small firms, I have no idea. Yeah,
I would start filtering by like things that are relevant to you. So Baruch is one, right? Then I would look at other small, maybe look at Fordham alum, because there's kind of a connection, Baruch, Fordham, like you're both in New York, right? You can look for any sort of kind of, even if it's a semi-weak connection, to make a connection with that person. I don't know what your hobbies are. I don't know if there's a way to find out. Let's say you loved, I don't know, making this up, curling. like some weird random Olympic sport. You can find people who are in finance that happen to be former Olympic curlers, or whatever, it's just like a total random example, but like those types of connections where if you're able to kind of show that you're passionate, let's say you love fishing, that type of stuff, I think can go a lot further in terms of developing a real friendship and a real connection with somebody and then pulling for you to get you an interview. Okay. Good luck. Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yeah. Or Paul, go ahead.
Sorry. One of them, the first one is like, do you think it really matters if your LinkedIn is not super updated? Like I have nothing on mine. So when I just outreach to people, I just attach my resume instead and like send a note. But I just feel like I don't like having all my experience and all my stuff on there for like everyone to see. I just think it's kind of weird. Like I'd rather just keep my head down, that type of thing. So do you think it's like a disadvantage to not have?
Yeah, I think it's a disadvantage.
Just to not have all your stuff.
Yeah, people can't learn about you, and people are going to want to stalk you if you're reaching out to them cold, especially before they decide whether to actually have a conversation with you. Doesn't mean you need to go crazy on LinkedIn and be like, I want to thank everyone and my mother for helping me get this this weekend.
Yeah, humbled and excited.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. You can literally not even have bullets on there, but at least have some like school, maybe show that you joined a few of the associations that are relevant, whatever. It doesn't have to be crazy. Yeah. But an important one's a smiling face.
Mm-hmm.
A friendly smiling face on there, I think is important to show, somewhat professional shots. So you're not like, so they look like you're presentable, because that matters for a lot of these jobs. So yeah, I do think it's a disadvantage.
Pretty much all I have is the like profile picture or like a professional.
I would have a little more. Like I think you should. You don't have your school there?
Nope.
No internships, nothing.
No, it's all on the resume.
I would take the hour it takes to get it up there.
Yeah.
Especially now you have the WSO internship over there.
Yeah.
It's gonna help you.
And then
it's gonna help you.
And then also, like I got super lucky with an outreach. Like I talked to managing director at a hedge fund today.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it was just one of the more awkward networking calls I've had. It wasn't because I was necessarily nervous. It's just like you had to take like 3 calls in the middle of it and I would just lose my flow. So, I mean, I just don't think it went that well. And I don't even know if I should be sending like the follow-up email. I don't know. What do you think? Or like the follow-up text?
Yeah, I would just say thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy day. Really appreciate you sharing some perspective on XYZ. I think just that's the courteous thing to do. Just a short thank you. Because you never know. You may think you bombed it and you're horrible, but like they may give you a lot more slack than you think, knowing how young you are.
Yeah.
So don't think like, oh my gosh, that was horrible. It was so awkward. Like that's also on the professional to make it less awkward. So, who knows, maybe they're awkward. It's not on you. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, but it's okay. And the other thing is like, you're still in a learning phase. Maybe you just weren't ready for that level of call.
Yeah, probably.
It's like even bankers who've been doing 2 years of banking can like flub on those calls and like not know what to ask, or they ask stupid questions.
Yeah, I ask really dumb questions, but like when I'm on a call on an analyst, like it's always a 10 out of 10. It's just like laughing the whole time, super easy.
Yeah, and so that's good. One thing I'll caution you about the laughing super easy is the analyst may enjoy talking to you, but they may be less confident about referring to you if you're too much of a joker. So just be careful.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not from a target school already and like if you're sharing laughs about like something that's good, that's cool. Like in terms of like shared stuff and all that, go for it. Just be careful about that. Cause like, even like if I've taken networking calls, like you may laugh with somebody, but then you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to put them in front of my MD. Are they going to make me look bad?
Yeah. I tried to test the waters first. Like I was talking to someone on the credit trading desk for my internship next year on the investment grade side. And I think we bonded pretty well, and he's going to connect me with like a director on the desk and an analyst on high yield and stuff. So I'm pretty excited.
So, I mean, it sounds like you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, you're going to be awkward in some, it's someone you're just not going to connect with them. That's okay. So just don't feel don't feel bad about that. Just keep going, man. Like it's just one call. It's just one person.
It would have been super dope though if you liked. I could have asked for like a spring internship or something
at the hedge
fund.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just a good lesson of just trying to be as knowledgeable as possible. I think that's where like a lot of the free resources on WSO in terms of just reading and knowledge and knowing the right types of questions to ask. So like you understand the difference between like a macro hedge fund versus like a pod structure versus this structure, and being able to kind of ask those more nuanced questions will kind of impress them more. But that takes time. You got to like have time to read and learn.
Yeah, I'm still learning a lot about bonds and investment grade versus high yield and stuff like that. So I'm definitely asking some dumb questions for now.
It's okay. It's okay. Cool, man. Yeah, I wouldn't let it get to you. So Emmett, I think you had your hand up.
Hi Patrick, how are you?
Hey man, how you been? Good to see you again.
I've been good. It's been a long week of work, but good to see through to the weekend.
Yeah.
So I had one question about Big Four deal advisory. So my work, the opposite side, we've been doing a lot of DD with KPMG, and and I was also looking at emerging market tables. So I'm from Ireland, and normally our group would be the top advisor in our country, but the last few years, Deloitte and KPMG have been topping it. So I was kind of looking into it, and then I was asking some of my colleagues, like, yeah, but we're not really sure about that, because how much of that is transaction services and how much of that is our actual corporate finance team actually executing deals. So I had a look at their kind of deal advisory pages on their websites, PwC, Big Four, etc. And I couldn't really kind of work out what exactly is they do. Like, it seems like half of what they do is corporate finance, half of it is kind of DD services. But I couldn't really find a resource that could break it down. Would you have any kind of experience of that? Would you have any insights?
I never worked at the Big Four, but I know at least when I was in private equity and banking, like I think they have bigger practices in due diligence, transaction advisory services. So oftentimes they're doing like quality of earnings reports, stuff like that. That's a lot bigger practice for them than like the strict investment banking, where like they're actually like pure advisor on a business, like on the banking side. That makes sense. Like M&A advisory, for example.
Okay.
Like that's usually a much smaller piece of the business than they're like audit is like the monster, right? Tax is pretty big. And then like corporate finance and advisory and all this stuff, transaction advisory service, TS, it's still big. It's a big business, but it's not as big as the other two monsters. I mean, they're huge, right? It's hard for me to say because I don't have any experience in, I don't know, Nabil, if you have an opinion on this. But yeah, I think from my perspective, like it's a little skewed because I saw all the work I saw them do was like QAE, quality of earnings reports. I saw them do like tax stuff on all the deals we were doing. So
yeah, much less origination and more of like, DD and like that kind of work. But I think tasks like at Big Fours, especially in emerging markets, is like pretty big compared to even audit. At least like in the Middle East, it is. Not sure about Ireland, but yeah, it is. It is.
You probably
big.
know more than us, Emmett. Honestly, based on what you're saying.
Well, I'm just starting, so to be honest, I'm still on the learning curve.
So what's your concern, I guess? What's the source of the question? What are you trying to get to?
I guess I'm just trying to decipher because so the last few weeks, kind of last week, few internships are starting to open their application portals. Some will be coming up in the next few weeks. So I was kind of going on emerging market tables and kind of breaking down the sector I want to get into, the geography that I want to go to, and kind of seeing, okay, which are the kind of targets, beyond just bulge brackets and big names, which are the firms that are really going to be good for your career and what you want to do. So I went on, looked at kind of deal volume, and there's all Big Four at the top, but they're not known for investment banking. So that's kind of
but if you get into transaction advisory services at one of the Big Four, it's a well-known feeder into the banks, into investment banking after. Like that I know for sure. Okay. And more so now than ever, or at least in the past several years, because they're so desperate for analyst talent and all the analysts are leaving early. So the banks are desperate for talent, junior talent, like qualified junior talent. TAS is losing them to banks, and the banks are losing them to private equity and other buy side and other corporate finance roles. So there's kind of like TAS is a great place to be for if you do want to eventually be in investment banking or buy side.
Yeah, no, I guess I was just trying to break down what are the differences in what the investment banks do and corporate finance and what the deal advisory.
What TAS does, what transaction advisory services does.
Yeah, I mean, the resources I looked up online, they seem to kind of group TAS and maybe one or two other, maybe a bit of corporate finance under the deal advisory umbrella.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess I was just trying to break that down.
There's overlap. Each fund, like I see, each big four has like different regional offices too. So like they may have a bigger practice that's like pure investment banking in like Chicago, or like maybe PwC has a bigger Chicago. I wouldn't know that offhand. I'd have to like dig. That's something you might be able to search for in the forums or ask a question more specific, like, hey, who has the biggest task group in the US or in Ireland, or the most successful task group? You'll probably get some opinions.
Yeah, I'm sure I can ask around. But yeah, thanks for that. And I had one other follow-up question just based on some of the comments on posting on LinkedIn and LinkedIn Talks, etc. So there seems to be a big trend, or I'm certainly seeing a big trend, and I'm sure you're noticing it as well, of a lot of students, posting online, big long essays of how they've worked their whole life and now they're into their dream job and stuff like that. But also just more simpler ones of, I've got my dream job at a bulge bracket, very brief, but thanking everybody. I'm wondering, because I'm personally, I'm not really a social media person at all. Like I only really use LinkedIn for kind of professional services. I don't have like Instagram or Facebook just because it's a time drain and
understood.
But I guess I just wanted to get your opinion. Like, do HR, do professionals, do they take note of that? Is there anything that they see in that, or is it?
I've heard some of the banks will encourage people to do it because they want there to be like that buzz associated with the firm.
Yeah, I know when I did my spring internship last year, they did send us a logo out to attach if we wanted to put out a post. I didn't oblige, but I saw the exact same logo put out on a lot of my peers who are on the same program.
Yeah, I think you don't need to do that. I think definitely put it on your LinkedIn, the firm, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's all you need to do. I'd actually think it can hurt you if you go overboard. With some people like thinking the world like as if they've like overcome everything and they haven't even started full time. It kind of makes some of the people in the industry chuckle and laugh. There's a lot of memes on it and people laughing about it. Just because it's like, thank you, I've made my dream job, and they've never actually worked in it and they don't realize like how hard it is.
And all the horror stories that come out. Like, how can this be your dream job when you've never done it before?
No, I'm looking at I'm looking at your profile. I think the amount you're sharing. So like the opposite of what Paul was saying, of like, I don't want anything, that's bad. But oversharing, going the other direction of being overly active. This is really important. It's not just about what you like posting something like over glamorizing your struggle to get to where you are and like tagging your whole family and all your friends and different firms. It's not just that kind of seems it's a little bit too much of a sharing. It's also your activity. LinkedIn shows me like what you've liked.
Yeah.
So imagine if you were like super, super right wing or super left wing, conservative or liberal, and you were just liking all this super right wing stuff or all this super left wing stuff, right? Great. Your views, awesome. In a professional setting, it's usually going to hurt you. It's usually better to keep your political stuff to yourself, because all you're doing by broadcasting that is usually pissing off 30 to 40% of the population.
Yeah, I guess there's nothing to gain unless your recruiter is very, very radical and
There's very little to gain. And plus you're like, it's just very little to gain. That's my point. So as a way to actually help your ability to just land interviews and not get ghosted for whatever reason because somebody checked your post activity. So people should look at that. You guys should all look at your LinkedIn's. Be cognizant of careful what you like, what you comment on. Don't get in arguments. They're there forever. This includes Facebook and Instagram too, but especially LinkedIn. So expect to be a little more professional. All of your Facebook and Instagram should all be set to private. I don't think there's much upside to showing them showing your future employer your social life. You're broadcasting your social life. Now, some people will disagree with me, be like, it lets them see your personality and all that stuff. And yeah, sure, maybe. I just think it's usually going to do. It's much more likely to do harm than good. So that's all.
Awesome. Thanks for that.
Yeah, no, I think yours is fine. Yeah, I think what you have is fine.
Yeah, I try to keep it like, if I accidentally like something, I try to unlike it as quickly as possible.
It's okay. It's not that crazy. It's not that crazy. It's just like, you don't want to be like, if there's a pattern, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But even for kind of just, kind of social media sites, the amount of analytics they get, I'm just like, no, you're not getting anything from me. Just from that perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thanks so much for that insight.
Yeah, no worries. Madav, you had your hand up for a while. Sorry about the delay.
Yeah. Hi, Patrick.
Hey,
I was just wondering, since you obviously worked in the investment banking industry, like how hard are the hours actually? Because I've seen people say that, oh, it's like 60 hours, it's pretty tough, but you can get through it. And some people say it's like 90 hours. So like.
Yeah, it's really going to depend on the group in the bank. I'll say even 70 hours sounds like not that hard, but when you do it week after week after week after week, it's pretty grinding. So like, no, it's not letting me a minute. I was going to try to share my screen, but there's a report under let me see if I can pull this over. In the company database, there's a report on banking hours. So you can get a sense of like what firms specifically kind of work their analysts the most, their interns the most. And so there's definitely some firms that really do grind their kids, 90 plus hour weeks for 2 years. So that's usually the worst. I'd say real working 90 hours a week. You'll have some people saying, oh, I worked 110 hours a week for 2 years straight. It's like, no, you didn't. But 80 to 90 hours a week is pretty brutal consistently. And it's just because that, the marginal cost of each incremental hour, once you hit like 70, 80, starts going up exponentially. It's just brutal. You start not just losing sleep, but you can't even do your laundry. You can't even like meet up with friends at any time.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So that's what makes it really hard. Why are you concerned about like, do you even want to do it?
Yeah, like I don't know, because I'm a double major in CS and finance. So like I don't know, like I mean obviously the tech side hours are amazing and everything, but like I feel like I'd be better fit for investment banking. Like I don't know.
It's tough, man. It's a tough decision because like you have the CS background. I think you got to think about like the day to day. What do you like being in front of a computer coding more, or eventually like because I think. Well, that's not necessarily true because even in CS, like as you move up, you probably be managing more engineers, right?
Yeah.
So like it becomes a little bit more of a people thing, but it won't be it won't be a sales job, right?
The thing about CS, I feel like, is that like moving up in the ladder is tougher than it is for IB because like IB can be like a 3-year analyst program, and then hopefully you get promoted. But like CS, you're gonna be working for like 10 years in the same position, and it's kind of tough to move up.
It is tough. The competition in terms of like it's hard to kind of like differentiate yourself, I guess. I'd assume, based on my friends that are at Google. I had a friend there for like 14 years. He just got promoted, and it was like a long time, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I mean, he made it to staff, right, which is like considered super super high.
Yeah.
But like it's a long road, right? But in the meantime, he loved his job. It's like great. The perks are awesome. So I mean, it kind of like I try to think of it as like. In both careers, you're going to have your head down staring at this computer and working long hours, like regardless. CS probably a little bit less, right? I assume it's probably around 60-ish hours there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I might push you towards CS because you have the background.
Okay.
Simply because just I think the demand is just it's always there. It's a little bit more recession proof, I feel like, than banking, which can be a little bit more volatile. What year are you?
I haven't even started college.
I'm
I'm going into freshman year, so
you got time.
I would we have like the handshake app, whatever. It's like an internship app, and like you're supposed to apply for internships as you go in. But I don't know if I should go this side or that side when I apply, because I don't want to have deferring internships, and then when you apply for a job, they're like, "Oh, why do you have an investment banking internship? I thought you're a CS kid." And so
yeah, I think given that you're so young, I think freshman year, I think it's fair to explore.
Okay.
But then after sophomore, I'd say, make a decision.
You gotta pick one. So is it possible, say you get a CS internship freshman year, is it possible to go to IB your sophomore year?
Yeah. I don't see why not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yo, shameless plug to sales and trading. You can do CS and finance at the same time. So you should probably do trading, and you get the same promotions as a banker and same pay. Even better depending on the desk. So
it's true. But then again, Paul, it does become a little bit more of sales eventually.
Yeah.
Well, isn't being an MD just a sales job?
Yeah. Oh no, yeah. No, I'm not comparing. I'm saying CS versus S&T.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. CS, you'd be managing people, but it's not really you're not selling to external clients typically, unless you're doing your own startup or something.
Yeah, but that's more like project management work, right?
Yep.
You get higher up.
Yep, absolutely. So I don't know if that was helpful, man, but you're young. I would try to at least get one internship to do a banking internship, do a CS internship if you can before kind of making that decision, because you'll just get a feel for it too. You may be like, oh my gosh, no way, I'm going CS, or you may just be like, hey, actually, this finance stuff is cool. Okay.
So is it even possible to get an IB internship freshman year? Because I heard it's
very hard. You can do it
unless you're going Wharton. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're not talking you're not going to get an internship at Goldman Sachs. You can.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You can get a internship at a small bank, but they're probably gonna be you're a freshman. Come back to me in 2 years. Even that's gonna be tough. But you don't have to say, hey, I'm an incoming freshman. I would leave that out. Be like, hey, I'm currently attending XYZ. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to not feature that.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And you can say, I'm interested in investment banking. I was wondering if you guys need any help, even unpaid, something like that. I think that'd be a good way to go about it. Try to even get something during the year, maybe near your school, possible.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming your grades wouldn't suffer from it. So,
okay. All right.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you. That was helpful.
Thanks for the question. Any other questions? It is, let's see, 12:40 my time, 3:40. We're only 40 minutes in. It's been a very quiet call. Everyone's being shy today.
Oh, there are quite a few in the chat though.
Oh, there are? Am I blind?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. O'Day says, I have a question. I am going to be in my senior year in the fall of 2020, and I'm struggling with finding internships in finance. So I'm in Lebanon. Most recruiters require experience even for internship positions. Any advice? I used to work in machine learning sector before. O'Day, have you been applying with this internship on your resume?
Hello, Patrick. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Clear? Yeah. Actually, I used to apply for many internships here in Lebanon. But unfortunately, most of them, I told you, they require experience, and I don't know what's going on. I have my CV. I can share it with you if you want.
Yeah, maybe. Is it one page?
Yeah, it's one page. It's just like the format that you told us about.
Did you? Is the machine learning stuff? Is it featured there, or is it more finance featured?
No, it's actually only finance.
Oh, good.
That's it. Because I'm not majoring in computer science, I'm majoring in finance, but I learned machine learning and programming by myself. Yeah.
And are you only applying to places in Lebanon?
The thing is, I tried to apply for places outside of Lebanon. They didn't accept because most companies, actually all of them, they require work authorization.
Yeah.
So, or residency or things like that. So I got rejected because of this. Actually, yeah, these problems are becoming really tough on me, and you know, it's kind of demotivating. So, any advice regarding this issue?
Yeah. So first off, when did you put the Wall Street Oasis internship on your resume?
I didn't apply when the Wall Street was on my resume. So recently, I stopped applying for anything because I had a lot of commitments. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, I'm having a summer semester too. That's the thing.
And how many applications have you submitted, or how many connections have you made?
I can tell like it's above 30 applications, above even more, like more than 50, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, and mostly just through on the resume drops and stuff.
Actually, you can tell like 15% of them I received a call, only a call without an interview. They asked me not technical questions, things about me, about my experience, and they never replied back. Yeah.
But how many like? How are you applying? How are you applying mostly? Are you applying through resume drops, or are you applying through other ways? Like through portals and stuff.
Yeah, portals, and LinkedIn. And I have one thing to mention also. I tried to apply for PCG in Qatar. So I was surprised that like I had a lot of experience in programming and things like that. And also I had some experience in business sector. I got rejected. I wasn't even invited for an interview. And some of my friends who I know, they don't even have, they didn't even do any internship. So they get accepted as junior associate there. So I don't know what's wrong. Maybe something with my
CV.
I don't CV or.
Yeah, you should have somebody review your CV.
Yeah.
Because there may be something on there that's glaring that you don't even realize.
Okay.
Yeah, and then 30 to 50 applications honestly isn't that much to get demotivated. Some people have applied to thousands of places before getting that one offer. But I'll say you're probably going to have more. I don't know, Nabil, do you think he'll have more success applying to places that are open to like virtual internships, or like what should he do now that since he's in Lebanon, it's a smaller market? Like, should he?
I don't know if, I mean, you got to search because I think the Lebanese community, they like move out, right? They're not like very heavily based in Lebanon. So you'd have a lot of contacts you could make in places like Qatar, UAE, for instance. I know in UAE, like in finance, there's quite a few Lebanese people here. So you could just talk to them probably. I don't know if you've been talking to people. That's probably the best way to go about it.
Yeah. So you advise me just to reach out people from Lebanon who's working in this sector and then maybe seek their help.
Yeah, exactly. They'd be able to help you out. They'd be able to advise you, like, what do you need to do before you come here, like, go anywhere, really.
Yeah,
they have big communities here. So you could leverage their help for sure. If you haven't done that already, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do this already,
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I would do that. Again, we go back to like just relationships is going to make so much. It's going to get you so many more interviews than dropping your resume cold. Marco Nina.
Hello, how are you guys?
Hey, Marco, how you doing?
Excellent. Thank you very much. This is my first week here with you guys.
Awesome. Where are you calling from?
I'm from Bolivia, but now I'm living in Toronto, in Canada.
Oh, cool.
Yes, I work in the oil and gas industry for 8 years. I got a master in business administration. I got a master's in the UK in engineering.
Cool.
And because of the pandemic, I lost my job there. So I had to go back, visit my family. And now I'm here. I'm studying machine learning, data analyst and everything, related to programming and stuff. Because I want to be like a business analyst. I love finance, but I need, the tools to how to predict, how to analyze. So that's basically me. And I've been watching you guys, and you are you are doing really, really good.
Thank you. Welcome. Great to have you. Any question you have specifically around, I'm looking at your LinkedIn, so I have a good idea of your background now. So you're not in Toronto now, you're back in Bolivia?
No, I am in Toronto now.
You're in Toronto. Good.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. No, I just was, listening. I think is, correct me if I'm wrong, the guy from Lebanon. Yes, 30 applications. Not, I mean, you need to try more. It's just an advice, and maybe go try to some volunteering, meet people. The most important stuff, in my opinion, in every kind of job or project you are involved in is people. So the most important part is people, and that's why, for instance, me, I was a university professor. I was an English teacher for orphans in South America. I always trying to be involved, and I am here with you now. You see, I just came here 2 months ago. I had this experience, and it's just trying and meeting people and being out of your comfort zone. I think that's what makes the difference.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's great advice. I think Marco, your LinkedIn profile looks great. The only thing I noticed is your lack of connection requests. You got to up that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, my LinkedIn previously was with my whole experience, because I work as a data engineer for 3 years in oil and gas, 8 years in oil and gas. And my last position was a head of drilling services. So it was too much university professor. I was volunteering. So then I say, okay, what I'm doing here in Toronto is just going to be focused in data analysis in the business sector. So I had to remove everything. Now I'm starting again, and I'll appreciate if you have some advice, though, because,
Have you thought of Tableau as well, like in terms of business, like different tools in terms of?
Yes. Last week we were doing some Tableau exercises and at the college with some friends, and now this week I'm going to do Power BI, which is really awesome. Good. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, so good. You're on the right track. There'll be jobs. If you get those skills, there'll be jobs. Yes. This week, I mean, I just want to contribute with you guys. I mean, if you need something about writing, I'm really good at writing. I love writing and researching, because before the pandemic, I got 2 offers to do research in the UK. So I went there. I was working in England, and then the COVID, so we lost the funds. I had to come back here. So basically that's me, and so love it. Yeah, we'll keep you in mind as we go. I think it's nice to have somebody with a little more experience and give the wisdom to the younger interns here. Is Emmett, is your hand up again, or Madav, did you raise again? Do you guys have another question or no?
I think someone was ahead of me, so I'll let them go ahead for now.
Madav,
another question. Yeah.
Did you have another question, Madav? I think he's muted.
Sorry, mine was on the whole time. My bad.
No worries. Okay, I think Emmett, I think it's you then. I don't think there was a question.
Perfect. Yes, I had one other kind of question that just kind of came to mind. So I'm just thinking, I feel like normally when you're applying for kind of internships, the kind of summer ones, the grad ones, etc., they're not obviously specific to any desk within an IBD team or an S&T team or whatever. How do you ensure that, let's say you are interested in a certain sector, or coverage team or product team, how do you ensure that you get on one of those desks? Is it, do you say it in the interview, and then they kind of allocate you to that on the internship, or do you do rotation across the desk?
Usually you do rotate. Usually you do rotations. Depends how big the firm is, right? But usually there's rotations. You got to be a little careful about like being really picky early. Like I think getting the job is like, oftentimes they'll do the like assignments to whatever desk after, and you can like, there's like a matching process where you rank them. Sometimes it's just a general pool though, where like you have to just get in past everybody else. And so it could be good if you're interviewing with somebody of a specific desk and you say you want to be on their desk. I think it could backfire on you if you're interviewing somebody else and you say you want to be on another desk. With HR, I think you can be a little more open, but you don't want to be like, I'm not going to take it unless you give me this coverage group or whatever. You can just say.
So I guess kind of people please and choose your audience. Just as long as you get the return offer, that's what
you get the offer.
End.
Yeah, get the return offer first, and then the other thing is, if let's say you get the return offer, and you let HR, you rank specific groups, and they don't give you any of your top choices, and they put you in a group you really don't like. As far as I'm concerned, like you should be shopping that offer.
Okay.
And you should have a much easier time actually getting looks and interviews because you can just say to the other groups, be like, hey, I'm going to this group. I really would prefer to be in this coverage group that you're in. I don't know if there's any additional slots for a lateral intern or for a full-time role, but that's what I would do then. But I wouldn't risk your return offer with being overly demanding too early.
Okay. And that kind of return offer on a certain desk, how is that determined? Is that just how you got on with that certain team, how you performed, or
how you got along?
Just how you get on.
Yeah. Usually, I'll say it's not always, but usually it's like, oh, do they like hanging out with you?
Okay.
Can you take a joke?
yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
And like your work, obviously, like, are you sloppy? Are you making mistakes? Or are you doing a good job with the lunch orders?
Okay. Essentially, do they want you back? Does that specific team want you back?
Exactly. Yeah, and sometimes they'll rank I think sometimes they'll have their own internal ranking process. They'll be like, we really want Emmett. We don't want XYZ person. That type of thing. Okay. But if everyone's gunning for you, like we all want Emmett, then you may not end up at the place you want to be, but then it's helpful if the team that wants you and you say you want that team, HR will take care of that and give you the one you want.
Okay, so if there's a lot of demand for, if you're lucky to be enough to be in that position and there's so much demand, you might not even get a say in the offer. It's just who has the most pull amongst the managers.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Thanks for that.
Yeah, all firms do this differently, but the basic rules are what I said. Typically go like, usually there's this big powwow internally where they're all like around a table and they're like putting everyone's name and everyone's like deciding who gets the offers, but then also there's a little bit of that matching going on. Or sometimes it's done in a second meeting. So once everybody's like given the general offer, they figure out who's accepted and then they start the matching. Sometimes it's done all at once. Sometimes it's done in 2 separate meetings.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick.
Yep. No worries. I always say, like, just be careful not to overstep your leverage. Like, think you have more leverage than you do. They have thousands of applicants for every seat they fill. So, just be careful. Some more questions here in the chat that I had missed. Let me see. Max asks, as a high school graduate without college experiences, how should I jumpstart my career in finance or business? Are there any internships or programs designed for my educational background? Hey, Max, so without college experience, it's tough to get into any sort of traditional like recruiting channels. And it's going to be tough to network too, because people are going to be like, okay, what year are you? What's your degree? Because it's such a, like, how do I say, risk averse industry. So it's going to be very hard. I think the best, if you don't want to go to college, even if it's community college and transferring to like in-state where the tuition's low, your best bet is really just like developing specific skills around a specific niche. For example, let's say you're into real estate. You become really good at real estate modeling, and then you offer your services for free to a guy doing like development and small acquisitions real estate in your region. Suddenly you've worked on 3 or 4 deals. You've done all the underwriting for him or her. And then suddenly you have that experience in your resume. People aren't going to care as much about the college, but it's going to make things a lot harder to get that first kind of shot. So again, you don't need to go to college to get a good role. I think there's a lot of maturing that happens during college, and you understand how to learn better going through that experience. But it doesn't mean it can't be done. The other thing I'd say specifically is like, you got to learn how to network either way. You got to learn how to talk to people either way. So like the sooner you get good at that, the faster you'll be able to start getting opportunities for real work, for real apprenticeship type work where you're like know very little, even no matter how many online courses you do and things like real, when you get thrown into the real world and you're actually thrown into the messiness of the real world, like that's the type of work you eventually need to get on your resume to be looked at seriously. So you need to stack internships basically right now. This is a good place to start. Let's see. What else did I miss? Parthas, I'm a rising junior at Virginia Tech. Should I just go for a middle or small firm first, then go for a big firm after? Hey, Parth, that's a little vague, but I would say go for all firms now. Why are you gonna? It's not that hard to apply to a place. I think it'd be a big mistake if you were only going for the big firms and the big names. That's a big mistake that a lot of people make, thinking I have a high GPA, like I'm going to get lots of looks, I'm going to get interviews, and then everyone's shocked when they don't even get an interview. So that would be a mistake, but you should still apply to your reaches. It's just like any college application. Like you're going to have safeties, you're going to have your cores, and you're going to have reaches. Apply to your reaches. You never know. Maybe you'll get an interview and you'll wow them and boom, you're in. Just save yourself 3 years. Let's see here.
I have a quick question. I don't know if you answered this last week, but at a big bank like Bank of America or Citi with a huge balance sheet, what desks would you recommend in trading? I know you're not like the most knowledgeable in trading, but do you think it would be like a high yield or credit desk? Then instead of like obviously equities or equity derivatives would probably be like Delta One would be the lowest on the totem pole.
Honestly, yeah, I would be speaking out of my ass if I gave you advice on that. Like,
gotcha.
I don't know enough about the dynamics of S&T, especially at specific banks. To be knowledgeable. I would go to the trading community to ask that exact question.
Yeah.
I think it's a good question. It's totally fair.
And then another question. I reached out to this guy at Goldman Investment Banking and he said he's happy to chat. He said it's been a crazy week. He hasn't gone back to me, but Wednesday to Friday works. And then I said, yeah, that works for me. And then he hasn't responded back. Should I just send him a quick ping if today still works? You think?
It's Friday, right? Yeah, as long as it's more like soft, like a short one line, like, hey, just wondering if you had any time later tonight. If not, no worries. I'll follow up in a few weeks, something like that.
Got it.
Yeah, as long as you just keep it soft and like casual. Don't be like, we had scheduled a time from Wednesday to Friday or not. Like, as long as you're not doing that, I think you're fine.
Yeah, you're blocked from my network.
Yeah, exactly. I will not talk to you anymore. You stood me up. Mohammed, you have a question? And then I think you're muted still. And then if Mohammed doesn't have a question, I will pull up another one.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Hey, how are you? Sorry, did you say you had a question?
So yeah, basically, I just wanted to ask. It's been a busy week, and I couldn't really contribute a lot of work for the internship this week because we have the Adha holiday and this weekend. So it's been a real busy week. So is it okay that this week wasn't a productive one?
That's fine. I think as long as you're averaging out over the internship, I think it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. So next week I will try to catch up on things. But I finalized my first article both ways.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Well, then let me see what else here. Tanae said, I'm really bad at networking. I realized that is extremely important. Any tips on how I could cold message random people on LinkedIn and get a conversation started? I love the self-reflection and the introspection to know that you're bad at networking. It's something you need to get better at. So I think the cold messages and LinkedIn stuff is probably the easiest part. The hardest part is actually picking up the phone and talking to people. That's when people who are shy or don't feel like they're good at networking, that's where they really get nervous. And in terms of who you should be cold messaging, I would really cold message anybody you could have any connection to, relatively speaking. So I'm looking at see if I can pull up your profile here. Here you are. So you're in Dubai. Are you in Plattsburgh, New York? I don't know if you're still on. Tanay is, I'll ask you to unmute. I don't know if you're still listening. But in general, I think.
Hey Patrick, sorry for that.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So are you in Plattsburgh right now?
Not right now, but I'll be going there in like a month.
In a month? Yeah, you're going back for your last semester?
Yep.
So I think the best thing you can do is you have 200 connections, 230 connections. Like, I think anybody that's at another non-target school, maybe in that area, in the New York area, be a good person to reach out to. And it could be like, hey, just wanted to reach out and hope to get time to chat. I mean, the issue is you're graduating soon, right?
Yep.
And you don't have anything lined up for January?
Not as of yet.
Okay. So, I mean, at this point, takes precedence over everything.
Yep.
Over even classes at this point, assuming you did recently. So like, what I would say is like, you should be hitting anybody and everybody up, as many connection requests as you can, probably about 100 a day.
Got it.
With you just do a quick filter, like just look at schools near Plattsburgh. So look at anybody. I mean, even if it's like Fordham, Baruch, and just like make that connection of like, hey, I'm also at a non-target near New York, was hoping we could have a couple minutes to talk. Notice you worked at but you have that template and you use copy, paste, send, connection request. Each one probably take you about 30 seconds to a minute to do once you have that list searched. So you do that, you'll probably get about 10 to 20% of the people accepting your connection request. From there, you pull those emails, you get them into your right inbox, and then you start the follow-up, hey, trying to set times for phone calls.
Got it.
That's the best thing you can do. That's going to be the most, it sounds like a pain. It is a pain. It's a nightmare. But that's the best thing you can do is get on phone calls right now and not be just dropping your resume in. I'd also get this internship on your LinkedIn.
Got it.
As you're doing that, because it'll make you more relatable to people in finance. Because people are like, oh, I know Wall Street Oasis.
Got it. Perfect.
Okay. Because the other stuff, like you were a random marketing intern, student employee. Yeah, not bad. I just I don't know, is your GPA decent?
Yeah, it's at a 3.9.
Yeah, so that's great. So like you just need to get yourself out there.
Got it.
But it's going to be tough, man. Like I think you should keep your net pretty wide at this point because it's 6 months away.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you.
Keep us up to date.
Of course.
And then let's see here. And by the way, everyone's bad at networking when they start. It's not something you're bad at permanently. It's just going to be awkward and weird the first 10 calls you do. And then you'll be like, this isn't so bad. Marco's laughing. Amy asks, how and when should I follow up with people I have networked with? Amy, this is a great question. So a lot of people are like, it's awkward. When do I follow up? So I think right after your initial call, you should thank them for taking the time out of their busy schedules to chat with you. Then I typically say, anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, even 3 months, depending. So if for example, let's say you land an internship somewhere or you spoke with somebody that had that knew them, or let's say you spoke to somebody that they had referenced to you, that's another opportunity to just reach out and thank them. Hey, I spoke with, Julie that you recommended speaking with, and she was super helpful. I just wanted to send in a quick thank you to you for introducing us. That's a good way. So I'd say there's several times you can reach out. One is when things change on your recruiting path. So you landed an internship, you just started applying, you got an award, not to brag about it, but just, check in with them. If it's 3 months, just it gives you an opportunity to reach out and update your whole network. So there's like big milestones, like landing an internship, keeping them up to date, thanking them again for their time, that type of stuff. So yeah, I would usually say don't do like every other week or every 3 weeks. I'd say usually try to stretch it out a little bit so you can say something to them that's relevant.
Thank you, Patrick, for answering. It's the thing that my first time, like now working with them, I didn't ask for anything, but some of my friends that like at the end of our conversation, I should ask for a referral, which I didn't. So like I was wondering, like even after months, like can I still ask for a referral, or should I ask for like a second time, like coffee chat, and then ask for a referral?
I don't think you need to do another coffee chat, but I think in the email, just updating them saying, hey, I just wanted to thank you again. I was wondering if there's anyone else. Don't call it a referral, but I was saying I was wondering if you think it'd be helpful to speak with. You could say, I was wondering if there's anyone else you think I could speak with that would be helpful, that might be able to give me some insight into, the path that I'm looking for. I don't know if what you're targeting, but you could reference that. So,
it's consulting.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anyone else you think I should. Is it management consulting?
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know if there's anyone else you feel like I could chat with. I'd greatly appreciate an introduction. But I understand if you're too busy. Either way, thanks again for chatting with me a few months ago. It was very insightful. Something like that.
Oh, okay. And should I be reaching out to them through email or LinkedIn?
If you have their email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Good luck. Let me see what else. I think we'll do one more. It's been a long call, guys. Started off slow and then picked up steam. Maybe. Here we go. How do you target small banks? Are there certain firms that have a recruitment quota for certain schools? I can kind of answer both those. So certain firms have recruitment quota for certain schools. It's not really a quota per se, but there definitely are firms that have certain relationships with certain schools, and they try to keep that relationship in good standing by at least taking usually like 1 to 3 candidates from that school. So it's rare to see, like huge swings where like they'll take 8 analysts from a school and then the next year they'll take 0. Usually you'll see like a pretty steady stream, and it can go up or down in a given year depending on the applicant quality pool, but much more, at least in terms of the investment banking recruiting, there's much larger bucket for the non-target group, which is good for a lot of you who aren't at a target school. So that is good. So yeah, there's definitely relationships at the target and the semi-target schools with these firms, but I don't think it's relevant anyways, whether they have a relationship or not. It's not changing kind of what you need to do to put yourself in.
Do you have any examples of any relationships? Like, do you know of any relationships?
I was at Williams College. I know we had a pretty good relationship with we're a tiny little liberal arts college. I know we had a pretty good relationship with like Rothschild, where I ended up in Goldman Sachs. Like we would usually place a few candidates there every year for a tiny school. Pretty good. So that's an example. But like more, if you go to, again, the company database has a tab called University Stats. You can see that there are certain banks that lean a little bit more on certain schools in terms of who they interview and who they bring in. You can see there's like, sometimes it's weird. Sometimes like a bulge bracket will like recruit all the top schools except for one or something like that, or except for a couple. And then like, it's the flip side for others. So you see there's like, and that's typically a function of like the senior professionals, the partners having come from those schools, and they want to pull more from those schools for obvious reasons. And then the last one, how do you target small banks? Sharma asked this. And Sharma, I think, it's going to be, again, the same answer. It's going to be talking to the actual employees, the analysts and the associates at the banks, at those funds, and trying to get a relationship, show them that you're eager to work in the industry, show them that you understand what they do, try to learn more about the specific bank itself, looking in the news at the specific potential deals they've done, being more knowledgeable around that, so you can show that there actually is a lot of interest there. I think that's typically the best way about it. Anything else? I think that's going to call it. Nabil, is that good? Is that enough?
Yep.
I think that's a long call, guys. I'm going to call it before my voice goes. But thanks so much for everybody for joining. This will be up. We'll get it up next week, next week or the week after, up in the chat so everyone can see it. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. And thanks to you, my listeners at Wall Street Oasis. If you have any suggestions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to send them my way, Patrick@wallstreetoasis.com. Until next time.